Look, thank you very much for joining us here at Mount Barker Hospital, here to make a fantastic announcement. Just by way of background, Rebecca Sharkey, the federal member for Mayo, has been campaigning assiduously to have increased services here, emergency services here at the Mount Barker Hospital. This part of our state is growing phenomenally. The current catchment areas of this hospital is about 70,000 people, and we have not had overnight medical cover at this hospital because, of course, its origins are just as a small community hospital, and the need hadn't been there. But since Rebecca started campaigning in this issue and making me aware of the need for having a 24-hour medical cover here at the Mount Barker Hospital, several months ago we announced a trial for having a doctor here overnight, and that has just been phenomenally popular. And that doctor has been kept very, very busy overnight with people presenting here to the Mount Barker Hospital. So here to announce that the government will be investing just under $2 million a year to have 24-hour doctors here in the emergency department at the Mount Barker Hospital. This is a very growing area of the state, and we have been increasing the range of services, but to have an overnight doctor here will mean a better service provided to people here who live in this growing part of our state. It also is going to take pressure off the Royal Adelaide Hospital as well. At the moment, those high acuity presentations, people very, very sick have had to go down the hill to the hospital. Normally that's been the Royal Adelaide. So to have a hospital here that can deal with almost the full range of presentations will make a big difference and take a lot of load off the Royal Adelaide Hospital. But most importantly, it means people are going to be able to be treated closer to home and be able to looked after closer to home. Rebecca was telling me a story about her own experience as a new mum up in this part of the world, and she delivered her baby here, but when the baby became sick with croup, she wasn't able to bring the baby back to this hospital. So there's some irony in that we weren't able to provide that service. She had to take her baby down to town. Well, from 1st of July this year, we expect we'll have doctors here 24 hours a day. So in this very young and growing part of our state, we'll have that full range of services. And I'd just like to pay absolute tribute to Rebecca for her lobbying on behalf of her community to have this particular service. I'm very, very proud to be able to announce that we'll be investing just under $2 million a year to have doctors here 24 hours a day and a fully staffed ED. I've got Rebecca to say a few words, and both of us will be very happy to take questions. Rebecca.
Thank you, Minister. Look, this is a very exciting announcement for Mount Barker and the Adelaide Hills community. We've waited a long time to have services like this, and I'm thrilled that Minister Snelling was willing to take my calls and hear my community's concerns, and this is a great win for Mount Barker and our region today.
Can you tell us a bit about your experience up here that the Minister was just talking about?
Well, that was a few years ago, I will say, but look, certainly what I noticed when I was door knocking, and I continue to door knock, is families with little ones, kids who are injured on the sporting ground, they hurt themselves, and then their family has to take them down to the city for support, for health support. And now, while we say call 000, always as a first resort, people will be able to be seen here where they live. It's just fantastic.
Minister, it's a great result for the community, but why did it take Rebecca Sharkey to bring this to your attention?
Well, I have to say the Liberal Party were completely silent on this issue. I mean, I've had the health portfolio for the last 4 years, not a single piece of correspondence, not a single question in Parliament about this particular issue. I have to say, when Rebecca raised it with me previously, I hadn't been aware of it because the Liberal Party, who've represented this particular part of our state for generations, were just completely silent on it. So not until, and I noticed the Liberal Party have desperately been playing catch up since Rebecca started campaigning on this issue. But I have to say, until then, not a single question in Parliament, not a single piece of correspondence, until Rebecca Sharkey actually started listening to her community and advocating on their behalf.
You seem very impressed with Rebecca's work. Does that extend to all members of the Nick Xenophon, both state and federal government?
Well, look, it's Rebecca who I've had the immediate dealings with on this particular issue, and I have to say she is a fantastic advocate on behalf of her community. You just have to compare to the fact that this was not on the radar for ever until Rebecca Sharkey started campaigning on this issue. And I know other ministers in the government had Rebecca coming knocking on their doors, advocating various other things for her community.
But this is the government's hospital. Why weren't your bureaucrats or administrators telling you this service was needed?
Oh, well, look, I think what Rebecca did was brought it to home, the importance of it. Then this really needed to be a priority. Of course, we've got a range of things that and where we need more resources, across the state. But Rebecca was lobbying very hard on behalf of her community to have overnight medical cover in the first instance here at the hospital. She just said it just wasn't good enough. That in a hospital serving a community of over 70,000 people, you couldn't come here overnight and have a doctor actually here in the hospital to attend to you. You had to go down, take your sick child or whoever down into town to get treatment. So she certainly brought home to me the importance of having this, and that this is a growing community. It has changed very, very significantly only in the last few years, with enormous expansion in the population here. This really is a regional hub, and it needs a hospital that provides the breadth of services that you need for a community of such significance.
Nick Xenophon said that he's going to run candidates to target the independent MPs who took your side basically in the ICAC debate. How's that going to play out for you in your own electorate? If they're targeting Fran Bedford, is that going to be a positive or a negative for you?
Look, over the last, since the beginning of the year, I've door-knocked almost 1,000 homes in my electorate, and that issue hasn't raised itself once. Look, I welcome Nick's involvement and his advocacy, but I just don't get the sense that this is really an issue and something that matters out there in the local community. Sorts of things that matter out there in the community are things like this one. People are interested in the services that are available in their local hospitals, and I have to say Rebecca is certainly campaigning on that, and has been a very strong advocate for better health services and greater health services in this growing part of our state.
You're speaking highly of a Xenophon candidate and you might actually be up against one of you suggesting that they are more responsive than the major parties in electorates.
What I'm saying is Rebecca Sharkey has certainly been a better servant to the people of the electorate of Mayo than the Liberal Party ever were. Mark Goldsworthy, the member for Carville, never ever a single question in Parliament. The Liberal Party get about 40 or 50 questions every sitting day to ask questions of me. Poor old Mark Goldsworthy hasn't got up once to ask me a question about services in the Mount Barker Hospital until Rebecca Sharkey actually started campaigning on this particular issue, and then he suddenly showed an interest in it. So I think that tells you something about the Liberal Party in the state. They take these areas, these safe electorates, or considered safe electorates, absolutely for granted, and don't look after them well. You get someone like Rebecca Sharkey in the ground, and suddenly they start taking a bit of an interest.
So you don't think transparency in matters of anti-corruption and that kind of thing are important to people like that?
Of course I do, but I think most people understand that the ICAC Commissioner will deliver a report. That report will be completely uncensored, provided to all the South Australian public. The Commissioner will outline his findings and what evidence he heard and how he came to those findings. I think that is absolute transparency. But as I go out there and door-knock, as I say, I've door-knocked almost 1,000 homes since the beginning of the year in my area, in Ingle Farm, and this issue regarding ICAC hasn't raised itself once.
Rebecca, do you support Nick's plan to target those candidates for the next election?
Well, look, I think it's fair to say that with the state government, the Nick Xenophon team respectfully disagrees. However, on this, we are in furious agreement, and I'd like us to focus on this being a good news story for my region today. My predecessor, the Liberal predecessor, said that this was impossible. I think he even said that this was illegal. And as the Minister said, this was never raised in State Parliament by the current Liberal members that are here. So let's make this about a good win today for our community.